guys, welcome back to another episode of Airtime with Jordan. I'm your host Jordan Fasso, and today we are doing the mighty Hawthorn Footy Club as our season preview. So, before we get stuck in again, if you guys have been listening to all of the episodes, you'll know the structure by now, but for those of you who are just joining in team by team, I'm running through each team, and we'll be going through a bit of a review of last year for each team. The expectations I have for them going into the season, where I think they'll end up on the ladder, some players to watch, and also we'll get into the ins and outs as well before I do the actual expectations for the year. So, pretty excited about this one, obviously, as a Hawks fan. So, I will try and remain relatively impartial. I can't promise that. I love the Hawks, and I'm pretty high on them going into this year. But firstly, let's have a little bit of a look at last year, and it was they ended up 7th on the ladder, made it to a semi-final. Of course, they lost to Port Adelaide in the end, and went 14-9 on the year after an 0-5 start. And despite that 0-5 start, they came absolutely tearing home. And as a Hawks fan, I'm sure many can will also agree with me, is that was one of the most enjoyable seasons of Hawthorn footy that I've had as a supporter. Definitely in a long time at least, and although it didn't result in a premiership, I think most Hawks fans would agree that was just about as much fun as a season can get, despite the ending as well. So just to give it a bit of a recap, it wasn't just rough, it was a very rough start. Myself sitting at that Easter Monday game, that one that had a lightning delay in the end. If you would have told me that they will end up making finals, I would have told you were dreaming. So, at times they did even look like the team to beat. So I don't know, to go from that position they were in at the start of the year to where they ended up was pretty crazy to follow as a fan. And obviously they got the whole footy world was watching them at one point or another. So. Ultimately they weren't the team to beat. They weren't good enough in the end, and they fell short in Adelaide at Adelaide Oval there, and they were James Sisley hitting the post away from a trip to Sydney at a shot at the grand final. But regardless of that, I think it was a successful season, whichever way you cut it up for the Hawks, and they found an identity that they can take forward and a game style that really works for their personnel. It was attractive to viewers and also free agents, and they can build on it heading into 2025 with them opening the season. Now that the news came out today that they're postponing the Brisbane and Geelong game, which isn't great. Hopefully everyone in the Queensland states, Queensland and top of New South Wales apparently as well, are all safe. So, obviously that's more important than the footy, but keen for the Hawks to open up the season. Now, for the ins and outs, as I said, the way that they were playing was pretty attractive. So they had two very big ins over the off-season in Josh Battle and Tom Barrass. Cody Anderson as well, the beast they call him. Is another in Matt Hill, Noah Mraz, and Jamie Henry. Apologies if I've said that wrong to anyone, but getting into the ins, the two obviously at the front of the mind are Battle and Barrass. They're going to be huge, and it just shows to other teams, if you prove to the rest of the comp that you have a game plan and a style that's attractive to players, then they may want to come and join in as well. And I think it really helps complete their backline, and I'll dive deeper into that as we go. But don't really expect the other guys to contribute too much this year. Pretty deep team as it is. So I think it'll mainly just be Josh Battle and Tom Barrass that we're talking about in the ins. Coming out of the side was Josh Bennett's Denver Granger Barrass, and unfortunately I was a long time believer in Denver, and it just never happened for him, unfortunately. So my hope, I have no choice but to resign to the fact that my hope for Denver Granger Barrass's career is officially over. Cooper Stevens also was an out. Jack O'Sullivan, Ethan Phillips, Clay Tucker, and Chad Wingard retired also. So, not too many outs that are necessarily going to hurt the Hawks. Chad Wingard obviously was pretty underrated at his time at Hawthorn, obviously playing in a lot of dead rubber years. So, shout out to him for sticking through some of those years on the back of he sort of came at the wrong time, I guess, in the end, unfortunately for Chad. But, he had some really good moments with the Hawks, so congrats to him in his retirement. And now for the expectations going into the year. And as I said off the top, there's no surprise, but I'm pretty high on the Hawks heading into the year. I think their game plan has a lot of room to grow, and so do some of their players in terms of just, general development. They were the second youngest list in the league last year, so, you sort of expect them to naturally just sort of develop, and, there might be some growing pains. Some guys, it's not all linear. They're not going to just get better gradually. Like, some guys will be the same, might be worse, but some guys, in general, I think they should generally get better. And I think, like Sam Mitchell said on SEN, that teams will be better prepared for them this year. But by the same token, I also think that Hawthorn were pretty hard to stop at their best last year and have another year of experience and another year of development, like I mentioned. So, that's important for a young team. And I'm sort of excited for other teams to be, game planning more intensely against the Hawks this year and seeing if they can stop them. And that ultimately is just going to hopefully make the Hawks grow and get better themselves. So we'll get stuck into what the addition of Tom Barrass and Josh Battle are going to provide for the Hawks, and I think that this is, to get two of these guys in the off-season at one time is just going to be massive. I already love their back line, and they already had a great blend of players down back. I sort of spoke about the concept of switchability between their defenders, something that is a bit of a basketball concept where you have a lot of like-sized defenders who can cover different positions and different sorts of players out on the field. So I think that sort of concept has only been amplified by the additions of Barrass and Battle this year, and especially Barrass being able to stand up and be the number one, week in, week out power forward stopper. Was really the only thing that the Hawks missed down there. Despite Sam Frost's best efforts at times, he's just not that sort of guy and doesn't have the intercept marking ability that Tom Barrass does as well. So for them to add him to the mix is just gonna sort of give them that pillar that they didn't really have down back. And also what that does is the addition of Barrass and also Battle is that it's going to allow James Sicily to influence the game at a greater degree this year, I think. In particular, his ability to, the Hawks needed him to play a full-time key position role last year at certain points, and now he doesn't need to play on a key defender where he can be the permanent help defender and intercept at will a little bit. So I'm very, very excited. I'm sure James Sicily is as well for that fact that those guys are coming in and he doesn't have to be doesn't have to wrestle with the big boys anymore, which I'm pretty excited for, and I think James Sicily's going to get another All-Australian nod this year. I have to tip that off at the start of the year. He's going to be very damaging, I think, for the Hawks. And Josh Battle is another one that I spoke about, the switchable guys, and he's another one that fits that mould. Him, Scrimshaw, Josh Weddle, and Sicily even to a degree. Are all capable of playing small or tall, and obviously medium-sized guys as well fit in the middle there. But they're all capable of intercepting and using the ball as well, which is pretty exciting. So you don't have to rely on getting the ball into a certain guy's hands out of the back line. They all can just grab and go sort of thing. And Hawthorn love to play in that transition game with all the small forwards they have as well. So they've clearly identified a type of defender that they value and think is going to maximize their transition game. And I think that it allows them to not only line up against any forward line comfortably, but also allows them to launch an attack without, as I said, needing to find that quarterback and down back which is still, they can still always try and hunt Sicily or hunt Carl Amon, who are elite by foot, but I think even all those guys I sort of mentioned are rather good to elite anyway, so you're not really worried about trying to source the absolute best option out there. You can just grab and go, as I said. So I think just the general versatility that the Hawks list has as well is pretty exciting. I think, as I said, what bringing Battle and Barrass means for Sicily is that he can play, as that loose key defender at times, but what it also provides is the fact that Dimmer Hardwick is going to be able to play forward pretty much all the time now. Obviously, have the option to put him back at points, but him and Sicily are going to be able to be used as utilities at times, and have the option of playing them forward or back line. They're accomplished defenders as it is. So, and Hardwick has played all his junior footy as a forward, and then obviously he's been a very solid backman for the most part of his career now. So it's a nice little luxury to have those guys to be able to float wherever you need them. situationally, I guess. So, yeah. And then just the general versatility that I'll just continue on with that sort of discussion is that the fact that their small forwards as well can play in the middle at times. They're not afraid to put Connor McDonald in there or Dylan Moore into the centre to give them a bit of a point of difference. They've also experimented with putting Josh Weddle or Connor Nash in the ruck as well. So they're just a lot of levers that I think Sam Mitchell is going to be able to pull game to game. And although that might not work every time, like he has the levers that some other teams may not have at the moment. And yeah, they definitely don't have the most traditional forward line, and they're clearly missing a key forward at this time. But I think that they can make it work around the ground with the general versatility. And yeah, sort of what I was touching on there is like the lack of a key forward entering the year, and I am a little bit worried about that. Just to start the year, like obviously they have Mabior Chol as the sort of sole key forward, and then Jack Gunston as well as that. Ideally you want him to be third tall, but the way the Hawks play very small at the moment up forward, and that's where they got success. Where they found their success last year is that you probably aren't going to play a third tall that often. Damien, his nickname's Dimmer, but Blake Hardwick is like kind of that medium-sized forward as well, so he's not necessarily a small forward. So you might have I guess you've got two key forwards to start the year in Marbior and Gunston, and Hardwick sort of your third pseudo power forward, I guess. But yeah, at the moment I think that I am a little bit worried. I think the fact that Colchester showed so much promise, but unfortunately he's out indefinitely with a back issue, which really sucks after him scoring 3 goals 4 in that elimination final against the Bulldogs. So he showed a lot of promise, and I really can't wait to see him healthy again, and hopefully he can return to find some form in the later part of the year. And Mitch Lewis is the other one as well. He's targeting a mid-year return, and I'm not sure whether he does get back to his best and if his body's capable of that anymore. But ideally he'd be back in the best 22, but I don't know if maybe Chol and Colchester, if he's healthy, would have definitely surpassed him at this point in time. But hopefully Mitch Lewis can prove me wrong and come back and just play some footy consistently. His body has just been pretty unkind to him at times over his career. So yeah, praying that for his sake that he gets back, and he would be an absolute luxury to have in the second half of the year, and a bit of icing on the cake, if you will, hopefully for that forward line. But yeah, ideally, Mitch Lewis would be better than Chol, but as I said, I just don't know how his body's going to recover after another injury-riddled season. And as I said, I don't think it's going to necessarily hold them back from winning games at the start of the year, as they didn't really rely on key forwards much at all last year anyway. But it could come back to bite them in some close games if they can't get the ball to ground for the Mosquito fleet to dominate. So that probably brings me to the next point, is whether the small forward line can wreak the same level of havoc that they did in the sort of back 2/3 of last season. And that the combination of Dylan Moore, Jack Ginnivan, Connor McDonald, and the Wiz Watson was just so potent last year. And my general theory to that question is, or my answer to that question is, yes, I do think that they can still win games off the boot of these guys. And the guy that I think is going to lead that charge is Nick Watson this year. I think he's going to take a massive leap, and the big take I have for the Hawks is that he's going to lead their goal kicking, and I believe that he has an outside chance at making the All-Australian team as well in his second year. He's just one of the most exciting players going around, and honestly the closest thing to Cyril Rioli that the league has probably seen since he retired. And I couldn't actually be higher on Nick Watson if I tried. His blend of reaction time, speed and quickness, his pressure, like the goal sneak craft, just really make me think that he has the potential to break a game open at any point. And the same that's the point. That's sort of the point I'm making with the Cyril Rioli comparison, is that like Cyril would have 9 or 10 touches and be probably one of the top 3 influential players on the ground based on his pressure and the moments that he broke open through packs and crumbing off some of the forwards. So obviously Watson doesn't have the key forward talent that Cyril Rioli was sort of blessed playing around, but at the moment anyway. But yeah, I think that we saw Nick Watson as well. He was a big game player in the finals last year. He was our leading goal scorer in the finals too, I believe. So, that's indisputable. And I think that only being in his second year, he's only going to be more confident in front of goal, especially coming on the back of such a successful finals campaign for the Wiz. So, very excited for what he can provide to the Hawks this year. And hopefully he can just go from strength to strength, and the goal-kicking woes are behind him a little bit. So, only time will tell, so hopefully that's the case and I'm right. But, big fan of the Wiz, as most Hawks fans are, I think. So, I think Sam Mitchell in general has, by design, played players in multiple positions as well during their development. And, we've seen John Newcomb and Will Day both rest up forward at times, and I sort of expect that trend to continue for those who for those who didn't watch the Hawks much last year. But, John Newcomb especially, his contested marking ability is very, very undersold, I think. He rated elite for his position at contested marks, and it's not like he's this huge, like, Paddy Cripps sort of tall midfielder. Like, he's probably about, 187 centimetres, I'd have to check, but he's not massive. But, his contested marking and just general strength are just really, really good for his size, and I think that's something Sam Mitchell's identified, and sort of feels similar to when Geelong would rest Patrick Dangerfield up forward. I'm by no means saying that John Newcomb is Patrick Dangerfield. They're different players in many aspects, but that specific aspect of the game where Danger would go up forward and he can take like a stronger opponent as well, and break a game open up forward is something that I'll really like John Newcomb to be able to add to his bow. And I think like another year of you sort of like resting up forward instead of going to the bench could be a real weapon at times this year. And the forward line's all small anyway, so like what's the big deal putting another small forward up there as a midfielder up there as a small forward. So pretty excited for him, and he's someone who definitely plays bigger than his actual height in the end. And just a side note as well on Will Day, I really pray that he gets an injury for a year, sort of to show what he can do in the finals. We obviously missed him pretty greatly in the end, and he's a pretty big what if for me. If he had played, who knows? But unfortunately, we aren't in the business of what ifs. So I think he is the Hawks' best player in general. Him or Sicily, I'd say probably Will Day. Just the influence he has on contests, and just makes like winning plays, I guess, and the versatility and the IQ he possesses make me sort of think he is this Hawthorn, this generation of Hawthorns, Luke Hodge. I think he's just ready for battle at any point. Put him anywhere, and he's going to impact the contest. Just such a smart player, and has a real feel for the game. And I'm a big Will Day fan, and I think that he can go a long way to sort of what's a word? I guess like just positioning Hawthorn in the finals as well. Like just like he can dictate their fate a little bit, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So with that being said, let's get into some of the players to watch. I've sort of talked about a few of them, but some guys who I think are sort of primed to have some interesting years. Finn McGuinness I'll start with. So everyone knows Finn McGuinness is a tagger, and probably Collingwood fans know him best for tagging Nick Dacos and hurting his knee a couple of years ago. So enough about that. Sam Mitchell, I think, really values running power, and Finn McGuinness can run all day. He is generally at the top of Hawthorn's time trials in the pre-season, and he seems to have settled in at half forward. And he's hit the scoreboard as well, playing that role consistently across the finals matches. He kicked goals in both games against the Dogs and Port, and also played there in the pre-season and kicked a couple goals. So I'm intrigued at what he can be. And as I said, like we all know the tagging ability that provides, and I see them sort of, and based on that, I sort of see them using him as an Alex Neil Bullen sort of type that Melbourne have deployed over the last few years, especially when they're, really up and about. That forward pressure, that defensive forward, he's able to like just run all day, hit the scoreboard as well, and can step into other roles where required, whether he needs to tag someone in the midfield if they're getting off the chain or something like that. So I think a long time I didn't really know whether Finn McGuinness was what he was going to be, but I think that's the sort of mould that Sam Mitchell's beginning to see him in, and it seems like he really trusts him as well. He's played him, as I said, in both finals. Was pretty good in both of them. Definitely was not anywhere near Hawthorn's worst in any of those finals, which is a good sign, I guess. It's a good bar to be at. But I'm excited to see how he goes, and he could become a very, very elite role player, I think. I'm not expecting a huge breakout in terms of like him potentially being an All-Australian ever or anything like that, but just someone who plays their role and is really important to a winning team. So he's one to watch for me. I think Cam McKenzie is another one that I expect to take a bit of a leap. He's shown promise at times, and he has like genuine shiftiness to him in traffic. His ability to jump side to side, loves to go against the grain inside as well. So running, back into traffic where the bodies are coming from, and making it harder to tackle your opponents to tackle you that way. And his foot skills are really great as well. Hopefully he bides his time and has bided his time enough and breaks into that centre bounce group. It's going to be tough, obviously. They have that pretty set, and as much as I want him to be a breakout player, it's just a matter of opportunity for Cam, and hopefully this is the year for him. Another guy as well that I think has the potential to have a breakout year, but it's just a matter of opportunity, is Josh Ward. He had a pretty great finals campaign as well. I think he has found a bit of consistent... I think he finds more of a consistent role on the wing this year in favour of Harry Morrison, who's been absolutely a solid contributor over the years, but just doesn't do enough for me out there. One of my mates is a Hawthorn fan and is a big Harry Morrison stan, and has debated me on this for years. But for me, I think Josh Ward's the play here over Harry, unfortunately. And I think Ward showed that he can impact the game more, in my opinion. So I'd be keen to see Sam turn to him on the wing there as well. And then the last one, he's a pretty exciting player. Everyone knows about Josh Weddle by now, but I really struggled early on figuring out what he might become. I think that's because he is a pretty unique player, and I think in general, outlier players like him can sort of become some of the best or most influential in the league, and that's sort of what I envision for him. He has a very, very high ceiling, and I sort of settled. I know everyone likes to categorise people and make it easier to understand, so for those who love player comparisons, I feel like he's like a weird mixture of like Mark Blitzarves and Nick Blakey. I think I think the Adam Goods one as well has been thrown around, but I don't expect him to get to a Brownlow medal level. Obviously, Adam Goods, one of the absolute superstars of the game. So, I'm not expecting that. But that mold of that utility, that true utility, we can play absolutely anywhere. He's an incredible athlete as well. So I think that for me, the athleticism has always been there for Josh Weddle, and the thing that's really improved is his kicking. For me, his kicking efficiency increased from 5% from his first year to his second year, and became an above-average player. I think he went at 79% by foot last year, which isn't elite, but it's good. And then the improvement is the part that you're sort of hinging on there, is that you hope that continues to improve. And he went +5 in both kicking and disposal efficiency overall. So I think the game might have slowed down for him a little bit, and hopefully that happens again this year and he can take another step forward. And then, just to finish off, I guess, with the Hawks, I'm going to give them the ladder projection. And, I have them, it's probably no surprise based on me going for them, being a long-time supporter, and that I am pretty high on them this year. I'm not going crazy and calling them the best team in the competition. I think they're still too young for that honour. I'm hoping it's trending in that direction over the next few years, but, anything can happen. But for now, I've got them ranked 3rd in my power ranking heading into the year. And then based on the fixture differential, once I've gone through all the fixtures and accounted for who plays what where, I've got Hawthorn finishing 4th on the year. So they drop a spot from my power rankings. But I think I'm still pretty high on them. I think they have a chance at the top 4, and they're going to be there at the end of the year. So very excited to get to some games this year and watch the boys play, and hopefully we can go a couple steps further this year. So anyway, thanks for listening, guys, and go Hawks.